Hello and welcome back. I'm excited for another amazing day of Art Club. For today we are going to need a piece of paper. We're going to need a container with water in it. We're going to need our watercolors with a paintbrush, or otherwise another alternative could be washable markers, could work for this as well. And then we also are going to need either a white oil pastel or a white crayon could work too. Any light color could work, but I prefer using white. So those are our supplies for today. We are going to be, before we get started with our art, we're going to talk a little science first. One of my favorite things about art is how we can use ideas and concepts from other content areas and we can apply them to create art. So that's pretty cool. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So my first question to all of you is water and oil. So I've got some oil here and I've got water in this cup. What happens if I put them together? And I've got a yellow oil. See, yellow oil. Clear water. What could happen? We're going to hypothesize. Maybe does the yellow oil mix with the clear water and turn it yellow? Maybe a lighter shade of yellow? But maybe that's what happens. Maybe it's like one of those science experiments where you pour the one in and it makes the other one volcano and explode out. Maybe that's what happens. There's so many possibilities, right? There's all kinds of things that I haven't even mentioned. So maybe we just need to experiment and try this out, shall we? So I'm going to transition my screen so you can see what's going on here. So here I've got my water, here I've got my oil. Let's see what happens when we put them together. And hopefully you've got some ideas floating around in your head as to what you think might be happening here. Here's water. Here goes my oil. Look at that! How cool! Look at those oil bits joining together into big blobs of oil. But notice the oil is joining together. I don't know if you can tell, there's like one big blob floating on the top here. You can kind of see the outline of the water. But it didn't mix. Now I would turn it sideways to show you that. But then I'm going to spill all over my computer, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to set this off to the side, somewhere safe. 1 second. So the oil and water did not mix. All right, so let's take that idea, and we are going to apply that to our art for today. I have an oil pastel, and I have water colors. So what's going to happen if we use those two mediums together? I bet you're kind of thinking about it, probably picking up on some ideas as to what might happen. Let's experiment again and try it. So I've got my white oil pastel. I'm going to make another scribble monster, kind of like we did yesterday. So here's my scribble monster from yesterday. Feeling a little anxious, right? So I'm going to make that similar kind of design where I'm just going to make some scribbles on my paper. I'm going to try to make sure I press down hard to get a lot of the oils from my oil pastel onto here. Now, I should also mention before I start, so I'm using oil pastel, but crayon can work too. Crayons also have some oils in them. It's not quite as much oil as an oil pastel does, but it still has some. So you'll get the same sort of result with this. All right, here we go. Pushing down nice and hard. La 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 la. Making some scribbles here. Now, you probably can't really see it on the camera. In fact, I can barely see it here. There's some spots where my oil pastel is maybe a little bit dirty. You can tell it's an older one. And it left some spots, but for the most part, I don't really see anything there. What I'm next going to do is I am going to take my watercolors. Let's see, what color do I'm going to try using red for this one. So I'm going to activate my watercolors by putting water into the watercolor cake. giving her a good old spin around until it's activated. Now, if you don't have watercolors, you can try dipping washable markers into a water dish, and that can work too. It's not going to be quite the same, but sometimes we need to improvise, right? We do what we can. Here we go. So I'm going to put my watercolors over my oil pastels. And what do we notice happening here? Check that out. They don't mix! My oil pastel, where that is kind of pushing away the watercolor like, Whoop. Let me transition back. There we go. Hit a button there. So they do not mix here either, you guys. So I'm just going to continue to kind of paint over all of this area. Anywhere that oil pastel or crayon had been. There we go. And cover all of that. I made this guy really big, so I've got a little bit more painting ahead of me. Once we finish with that, we're going to set it off to the side and let it dry a little bit. Because when our paper is wet like this, we don't really want to be coloring over the top of it or doing too much to it, but you can see that oil pastel is pushing away the water of the watercolor. Now in our art kits, we have coming some stickers, some eye stickers, and if you haven't yet gotten yours, what I'm going to show you is what we could do instead. Or if you just prefer to draw versus using stickers, you can see the stickers boop, boop, up here in the picture. But we could also draw that stuff on, right? Once again, I recommend allowing this time to dry. So you maybe start another one, paint that one, move that to the side, maybe even start a third one. These don't take long to dry, just a couple minutes. But we'll want to allow it that time to dry, because otherwise if we start coloring over the top of it, a lot of times the paper kind of gets ruined from that. But, so not to make this video too long, I'm going to risk it. Shh. So here we go. We're going to draw on a little face. I'm using a Sharpie marker. You can notice that it's not working the greatest because it's still wet. Also probably a little bit because of the oil pastels getting in there, and it's just a really old marker. This is also part of it. But we can draw little faces on our scribble monster. Maybe give him some arms. This one's a happy guy. He's dancing a little bit. Maybe this foot's kind of kicking out. Yeah! So I would maybe, once again, I would probably wait till that was a little bit more dry. You can still see the paper's a bit wet. And I would go over that yet again and make it even more fun. You could add multiple scribble monsters to the one page, or just have multiple pages of many fun little scribble monsters with our science experiment in there, learning that oil and water, they repel from each other. They don't mix. All right, you guys have so much fun with this. I can't wait to see them in the Hall of Fame. Be sure to add them there if you're ready to show them off. We'll see you next time.